A historic and unprecedented verdict tonight out of New York.
Former President Donald Trump guilty on all 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in his hush money case. He's now the first president in U.S. history, to be tried and convicted of crimes.
Now, the jury's verdict was unanimous. This trial focused on Trump's efforts to pay off adult film star Stormy Daniels, keep their affair under wraps before the 2016 presidential election.
The former president's team has already said that they will appeal the verdict. Ultra El-Nashar has the reactions to what happened today and what could be happening next.
Former President Trump walking out of a Manhattan courtroom a convicted felon. The 12-person jury delivering the guilty verdict quicker than many experts anticipated, given the complexity of the case. Here's some of what Trump said just minutes after the historic verdict came down.
This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace.
Trump's campaign quick to put out a fundraising appeal calling him a political prisoner. Just hours earlier, the Trump team appeared confident things were going their way.
I'm just enthusiastic about the fact that the jury seems to be taking its duties very seriously.
Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg defending the prosecution's work.
We arrived at this trial and ultimately today at this verdict in the same manner as every other case that comes through the courtroom doors.
Here in Washington, the White House counsel's office says we respect the rule of law and have no additional comment. As for what happens next, the defense and prosecution will get the chance to weigh in on how they think Trump should be sentenced. Judge Juan Mercer will make the ultimate decision, which we'll learn on July 11th.
The appeal will start rolling after the sentencing. He can start the appeal process, but the appeals will take years.
The appeals process puts any possibility of prison time on hold.
I think any prison time is highly unlikely. After all, this is a paperwork crime from a number of years ago. But nonetheless, there's a risk of prison time. The judge has discretion here.
Trump's legal team catching some flack for the outcome.
First thing Trump has to do is fire his attorneys. His attorneys did not do a good job in preserving issues for appeal. So his attorneys not only made a conviction more likely, they made an appeal less likely.
This conviction will not prevent Trump from running for president or holding office in the future. And as long as his sentence is on appeal, his ability to vote in his home state of Florida will not be impacted. In Washington, I'm Ultra El-Nashar.
Now, the former president was not walked to jail after his conviction. He was released on his own recognizance with no restrictions. Trump's sentencing is scheduled for July 11th. Now, that is just 4 days before the Republican National Convention is set to announce he's their 2024 presidential nominee. Now, for his punishment, the judge got to decide if the former president will get prison time, but the Manhattan DA says it's unlikely. Technically, each of Trump's 34 felony counts carries a maximum sentence of 4 years, but he could serve those concurrently. The judge could also impose probation. Again, Trump's legal team will appeal the conviction, which could take months and would delay sentencing.
We will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Now, Trump says he'll hold a news conference tomorrow morning at 11. We'll let you know what comes from that on air and online.
More leaders from across the country and even here in Ohio reacting to that guilty verdict. In fact, Arkansas governor and former Republican presidential candidate Asa Hutchinson made this statement on X, saying in part, quote, "It is not easy to see a former president and the presumptive GOP nominee convicted of felony crimes, but the jury verdict should be respected." Now, the chairman of Ohio Republicans saying tonight in part, quote, "President Donald Trump has lived 77 years and done billions of dollars in business without the single hint of a criminal charge until he crossed Democrats." We're also hearing from Ohio Congressman Warren Davidson, who says in part, quote, "This is a sad day. An appeal must be filed and heard swiftly." And Ohio Auditor Keith Faber, says Ohio, quote, "This trial was rigged from the start and the case will be overturned in appeals."
We first brought you this story as breaking news. We will always alert you to more alerts and anything else from Trump's news conference tomorrow. You can get those alerts sent right to your phone by downloading our app. It's easy to do so. If you want to do it right now, you can scan that QR code you see there with your phone's camera. That'll take you to your app store. You can download it for free. And of course, as the night continues and this week continues, we will update you on air and online with the latest. Well, tonight we now know a second person has been charged in connection to those human legs found in Trotwood. Police say Amanda Reeve was arrested on charges for complicity to commit tampering with evidence and complicity to commit gross abuse of a corpse in relation to the murder of Edgar Kiter Sr. Now, the victim's son, Edgar Kiter Jr., was arrested as well last month and also charged. More charges could be on the way.
The Clark County man accused of murdering an elderly woman will now undergo a second competency hearing. A judge approved the request just today. 22-year-old Jackson Blything faces several charges, including assault, murder, and tampering with evidence. Blything remains in the Greene County Jail on a $1 million bond.
Deputies also searching for a suspect after a Kroger employee was injured in a robbery. Now, that happened around 9 this morning at the Kroger on Siebenthaler. Deputies say a man was demanding narcotics from the store's pharmacy before hitting the employee in the face with a gun. The suspect apparently managed to steal some of those narcotics before running away. The employee suffered minor injuries, is expected to be okay.
This comes on the heels of yesterday's officer-involved shooting in a Kroger at Coleraine Township. Now, we told you yesterday the suspect was shot along with an innocent bystander at the store on Springdale Road. We now know that bystander has been treated and released. No officers were hurt. Tonight, that Kroger reopened and the officer who fired is on paid administrative leave. David Winter has a listen to the 911 calls.
Shot fired. We're at Kroger 6, and we got multiple subjects down inside the store. Cars the squad.
I copy multiple subjects down inside the store.
The police scanners lighting up Wednesday at 4 p.m. This audio courtesy of our media partner Rangecast. Police say an officer began questioning a man outside the store when he suddenly pulled a gun and shot at the officer. The officer was not hit but returned fire, apparently hitting the man before he was able to retreat into the store. In the exchange of gunfire, a bystander was also hit.
I copy 2 patients, one on the GSW to the head, the other one is shot in the leg.
It should be noted that none of the information on police scanners is confirmed.
Beaver Creek Police, they need your help to find a missing 16-year-old. Her name is Danielle Merritt. She was last seen Tuesday wearing black jeans with holes in the knees, a gray tank top, and carrying a mini brown backpack. Now, she was last spotted on County Line Road near Indian Ripple Road in Beaver Creek. If you have any information, please call 911 immediately or Beaver Creek Police. The number there is on your screen.
The Miami County Sheriff's Office is now asking for your help tonight, finding 2 suspects wanted for a string of thefts. This man here, 47-year-old Robert Bragg, and the woman you see over here, 44-year-old Heather Patrick, are wanted for thefts and break-ins of storage units in Bethel Township. Bragg is wanted for breaking and entering. Patrick is wanted for complicity to breaking and entering. Deputies say Bragg and Patrick are believed to be traveling in 2 cars, a dark green colored Pontiac G6 with an Indiana registration reading 718 CUL, or a silver gray Scion hatchback with an Ohio registration reading KHW 6312. Anyone who knows their whereabouts are asked to call 911 or the detective listed there on your screen.
All right, to weather we go. Well, we are almost to the weekend, but we do have to get through a little bit of a relatively chilly morning, it sounds like.
Yeah, we're going to drop about 10 more degrees before sunrise tomorrow. But the thing is, this time of the year, we get chilly and we warm up so quickly. Once the sun is up, you really just start to feel a difference. But it is going to be a little cool tonight. Maybe let some fresh air in. Not very humid out there either, which is nice, but we're sitting at 59 in Dayton. We have 58 in Troy, 55 in Wapakoneta. Now, our dew points, the measure of moisture in the air, it has been a little muggy thus far this month, but not quite the case right now. Dew points are down into the 40s. That may not be an accurate reading up in Bell Fountain. That would be some very dry air with a dew point of 28. But when dew points are in the 40s, the air is just very comfortable. So we have that drier air in place. And it's going to be a chilly night tonight. Lows dropping into the upper 40s, which will be below normal for this time of the year. Mostly clear sky, but we have a warm up on the way and some rain on the way, so I'll time it out for you coming up.
Dayton Pride events kick off tomorrow with the Friday night affair on St. Clair, then the parade on Saturday. As with all large events, a lot of planning takes place in advance. Jenna Lee Bork live in downtown Dayton tonight. So what are these events expected to be like?
Well, Adam and Elise, the Greater Dayton LGBT Center tells me more people attend Dayton Pride events each year. Executive Director Rick Flynn explains why Pride Month and the events that go with it are needed in the community.
Visibility. I think we live in a time where we're very divided, and I think people don't know what they don't know. And so this is a chance for you to see that We are all types of people. We're not a stereotype.
June Pride events kick off this weekend. On Thursday, the city was already preparing, blocking off parking meters on St. Clair, where the main events will take place. Friday night affair on St. Clair from 6 to 10 will kick off a full weekend of entertainment, food, and celebration. The parade will be on Saturday, followed by the Pride Festival on St. Clair, with 175 vendors expected. Rick Flynn, executive director of the Greater Dayton LGBT Center, says the parade route and main celebration area was changed because it's getting so big.
Last year we were at Courthouse Square and we were busting at the seams. Like, we had just so many booths that we spilled out onto 3rd Street.
As events like this grow, safety can be a concern. Flynn says the organization has a good relationship with the Dayton Police Department, planning and making sure people feel safe and dangerous situations don't arise.
That is our first meeting of the year, right after we kind of decided this is what we wanted to do. And I said, so is this doable? Is it going to be safe? How do we make it safe? And they're great. Like, they make a lot of recommendations and we go with it.
DPD sent me this statement about how it's approaching Pride event safety, saying its staffing is in line with previous years and other similar events, and that public safety is always their #1 priority. Flynn says there's one group who always shows up that could be problematic, but he's not aware of any incidents in the past.
We always have protesters. So that's kind of a tradition as much as Pride is that you have the protesters. And they have a right to be here, of course.
Flynn says he expects this celebration to be the biggest one yet, and he hopes everyone has fun. Back to you in studio.
The Solvita Blood Center in critical need of blood donations ahead of summer. The blood types they're asking for and how you can schedule to donate.
Plus, I'm tracking some sunshine before rain makes its way in. I'll time it all out for you. That's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
I've been yelling your name for like 3 minutes.
A local blood center asking for your help tonight. Solvita Blood Center says it is in critical need of 2 types of blood. This as the center sent a significant portion of its supply to North Texas after a tornado and powerful storms devastated the region over the weekend. Gwyneth Falloon is live from Solvita. So Gwen, what exactly do they need?
Right now, Solvita is in desperate need of both type B and O blood, especially O negative. That's the universal donor. So that means in an emergency or a mass casualty like we saw in Texas last weekend, O negative blood, it can be given to anyone without even knowing that person's specific blood type. But now Solvita, they are calling on those at home to donate and help keep units at the ready, especially as we head into summer's 100 deadliest days.
You try to help when you can, and it's always a need for blood.
Anthony Smith, now a blood donor for life.
I'm a veteran, so I started giving when I went to the military and continued it, through the years.
Smith's continuous contribution coming at a much-needed time for Solvita.
We've got a low supply of multiple blood types. We're in critical need of type O and type B, particularly type O negative.
Mark Pompilio says this is because of a call to action last weekend, a deadly and destructive tornado plus severe storms in North Texas.
We're part of a national network to assist other blood centers that are in need after a natural disaster. There were 8 of us on call. We're each required to have 4 units of O negative on standby, so that gave them a total of 32 units.
And while it seems small, Pompilio warns it doesn't take much to upset Solvita's balance.
It was not an easy thing to do, considering that type O negative blood that is particularly in demand for these mass casualty events is so precious. It is like gold, and it was hard to give that up.
They're now relying on the generosity of others, which Smith says could save a life.
If you needed blood, wouldn't you want blood to be there? It kind of makes you feel good to say, hey, I made a little bit of difference maybe in helping the world.
To donate, in addition to mobile blood drives, Solvita, they also take walk-ins. We have more information about both of those options on our website, Dayton247now.com. But to help sweeten the pot, from now through Saturday, Solvita will be giving donors either a free Kings Island ticket or $15 e-gift card. Back to you.
Well, it has been a warm month of May, but ending the month on a cooler end with temperatures that have been in the lower 70s. Tonight's going to be pretty chilly in the upper 40s, but for the month of May thus far, it has been on the warmer side. 16 days with above normal high temperatures and just 5 with below normal high temperatures. And tomorrow should be right around the normal. That being said, we are currently at number 7 for the warmest Mays on record. We were at number 6, but I do think we're going to go a little bit further down the list because today is not included. Neither is tomorrow morning, which will be in the upper 40s. As far as what's going on right now, we have mostly clear skies across the region. High pressure situated right over us, but right off to our west is a frontal boundary that will be making its way in, and that's going to be bringing us those rain chances. So I'm going to time that out for you coming up.
Congressman Mike Turner revealing next year's NATO Parliamentary Assembly is going to come right here to the Dayton area in May 2025. Typically brings more than 265 delegates from more than 50 nations.
So once again, our community will be an international focus as the NATO Parliamentary Assembly hosts its spring event here in 2025, dedicated to celebrating the 30th anniversary of the peace accords. It will focus on not only what happened, but also what work do we have to do to continue the effort to bring peace to Europe.
Turner also said bringing the delegates here will let them see a thriving Midwest community, including how Wright-Patterson Air Force Base works to maintain national and international security. He expects millions of dollars to be spent over that weekend.
And the United Nations now saying aid entering Gaza has dropped, I should say, by 67% since May 7th, the day after Israel began its assault on Rafah. The UN says that the aid entering Gaza was already not enough to meet the growing need, prompting the State Department to say that U.S. is urging Israel to allow more assistance through as many points as possible.
We've also called for consistent access through Rafah and Kerem Shalom crossings to prevent harms to civilians reliant on aid.
The UN says from the beginning of April to the start of May, an average of 167 humanitarian trucks entered Gaza each day. After May 7th, the daily average has dropped to just 58.
Ukraine can now use some American weapons to counterstrike targets on Russian territory. President Biden partially lifted the ban on Ukraine today. Now, there's no direct policy shift when it comes to the offensive use of long-range missiles and other American munitions inside Russia. Now, yesterday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken addressed how U.S. support needs to adapt as battlefield conditions change.
We haven't encouraged or enabled strikes outside of Ukraine, but Ukraine, as I've said before, has to make its own decisions about the best way to effectively defend itself. We're going to make sure that it has the equipment it needs to do that.
Russia launched an offensive on Ukraine's second largest city earlier this month. The ban still mandates that American weapons cannot be used to hit civilian infrastructure. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned if Ukraine uses the U.S. weapons, it would prompt a dangerous escalation in the conflict.
A live look now from our Eco Plumber Skycam. A little cool out there, but let's send it straight out to Chief Meteorologist Natalie Walters.
Well, had to bring the jacket out. It's getting a little cooler out here, but thankfully a quiet night. That will change though, as we do have rain in the forecast by this weekend. So tomorrow, beautiful. We're going to see 40s in the morning, but here's a look at what's going on our Saturday. Notice by Saturday afternoon, rain showers develop. I'm thinking around lunchtime or so, we'll start to see scattered showers in the forecast for our day on Saturday. Becoming widespread by Saturday night, could see some heavier pockets in there. That rain does begin to taper off by our early Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Looking like that's going to be on the quieter side. So as far as precipitation, how much are we expecting for us? We could potentially see about a ½ inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch of rainfall, maybe even some higher totals with this. This is indicating lower end totals, but either way, plan on some wet weather for the weekend.
Well, the second Honor Flight Dayton trip of the season set to take to the skies, how you can give our military vets the welcome home they deserve next.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now. The Dayton community coming together tonight for a time of peace and healing. The Seed of Life artist team hosted a tile placing event to create a large mosaic meant to honor the 9 victims killed in the 2019 Oregon District mass shooting. It'll be installed in the ground near the trolley stop as part of the Oregon District 8-4 memorial. Organizers say they hope this project will bring healing to those affected by the tragedy.
It's been a lot of hard work. A lot of people have shown up and taken part in this, which we really appreciate. That was one of the most important components with our design, is that with this memorial, we could present an opportunity for healing for so many people in our